All right, we're live now. I think we're ready to go. All right. If you've got a smartphone, you can join this right here. Got me? You'll notice that there's a little microphone there. So behave. And if you don't, then you're, yes. Now, here's what we've been saying that we were going to do the entire time. When this is done, right? Well, first we have the one girl who is not with us. She's homebound, right? So this is mainly for her. But then here's the other thing, is that if you're ever absent, you go to the channel, and whatever you've missed will be there. This is called CH12E1, episode 1. So that way you can follow along if you know what's going on as far as what day you missed.
Can you hear?
That is Westfield High School. We're at Houston. They're there joining us, and up there, see, she's waving.
Can you hear me?
Well, because the camera's set up in there and it's set up to share. All right.
Apparently not. I hope not, because I wanted to
She
talk.
can hear us. If you'll see if you'll wave her hand, and, you can hear us. Can you wave your hand if you hear us?
That was one of the things that.
Or maybe she ignores us. I don't know. All right, but she can also write questions up here. All right, so if you'll write a question, we might be able to see it up there. So we're going to start at the beginning of 12 because y'all took last week or forever to do your EAPs. Nice collaborative
Why is it him?
effort there.
Because Memorial wants to keep him.
All right.
But I mean, like.
Westfield, are you paying any attention over there?
Can you hear us?
If you write a question that makes any sense,
Can you hear
over to where I can zap that. All right, so here's our emergency plan, right? Emergency plan is essential. There are rarely times it's a life and death situation, but when there is, you got to be prepared. She did? Well, I can't see it because it went away. All right, so I don't have my glasses on. So everybody's got to know their duty, and that's why you did your EAPs, so that way you know exactly for each one of your sports who's in charge of your duties. Let me see if I can turn that to questions.
I was doing it to through something else.
Yeah.
To try to
get me on with Memorial.
So why can't they do it? They did it with Bob.
He's the only one. They
No.
Don't
see any questions.
I don't know. That was one of the things that Bob's like, well, he's like, I'm the only one that's been able to do it. He's like, what's the harm in asking? But he's like,
all right.
He's like, there's.
So.
Well, yeah, I would do it. Yeah.
Everyone in the plan's got to know their duty. I've got a feeling that, Westfield, you're going to be on this recording with your microphone open.
All the others.
I have that feeling.
Exactly.
So,
all right. Phones should be accessible. Cell phones are perfect.
But that's
right?
just for me and you. Don't tell anyone.
Be familiar with your community-based emergency plan. Who's in your community-based emergency plan?
Getting hired on.
Yeah, that's the only thing
I think they all kind of talk at one. And
the ambulance, the EMTs, the physicians, etc. So designate duties for everyone who is needed to be a part of that plan. Who is calling? Where are they calling from? Where's your closest AED? Who's getting it? Are there any gates that need to be locked or unlocked? Somebody needs to show them where to come to. Have that all included in your plan.
Yes. When I would take the job over.
Have gates unlocked and open. Each sport and field should have separate emergency plans. And you need an in-service. What's an in-service? A trial. Yes. A practice. All right. Have an in-service for teaching everyone their roles and their plans. And someone's got to be assigned to accompany the injured athlete to the hospital. Is it okay for a student to accompany another student to the hospital? Not a good idea, is it? Can you sign off on anything? No, I didn't think so. You're not 18. Not a good thing. So make sure it's an adult. Cooperation is needed when taking care of the injured athlete, so know what you can do and know your limitations. All right, so can you do CPR? Huh? Yeah. Can you do AED? Yeah. Can you do first aid? Yeah. What about, can you do a tracheotomy? Can you give them an IV? No, that's not a good idea. So, I know she's trying to get back on there right now, but I'm not there. So, know your limitations to those professionals and take charge if you are more knowledgeable about the transport procedures and take a back seat if somebody else knows more. So, we're talking about somebody in a football situation, and here comes the ambulance driver, and he says, "Hey, I want to take that helmet off." What are you going to tell him? You're right. No. Why are you going to do that? I want to take those shoulder pads off. Yes or no? Absolutely not. All right. Of course, unless they need an AED. All right. So the safety is of the injured athlete and not about somebody's pride. Okay. Contact the parent as soon as possible. When you did your emergency action plans, remember you did your deals? Who is supposed to call if it's a life-threatening or a non-life-threatening? Who calls and who does? Remember your phone tree that you did? So you should have an emergency information at all times and as far as games and practices. And where do we keep that? Doesn't do us any good at a game there, does it? Yeah. Yeah. And make sure it's secure, meaning that you need a password in order to get into your drive, and then put another password on each of that information. So if you've got a PDF that's there, you need another password to get in. Okay? Should also already have consent to treat. All right, what's this say here? How many backup options did you have for each job in your EAP? I'd say, you probably ought to have at least one backup, if not another. Look at that. So, okay, got it. Great. So, on the field assessment. Now, you've learned all this when you took your class. You learned it when we went over it before we went and did the other part, but we're going to make sure that all of this chapter is available online. Primary survey. So since it's primary, it's done first, right? Like primary school. You went to primary school first, and then you went to secondary school. So done initially, it determines life-threatening situations, including ABCs, which is A is for A is for A is for airway. B is for breathing. Very good. And C would be for circulation. And that's so you know your ABCs. Secondary takes a closer look at the injury and gather information about the injury and athlete's condition. Now, it says here that if they're conscious and they're awake, you don't need a primary survey, but the unconscious athlete does and needs monitoring for a life-threatening problems. You come across an unconscious athlete, what should you initially think? What's the worst thing that you can think that can happen? Dead. Maybe dead. Yeah. So let's take it a step less than that. Unconscious. Well, they are unconscious. What about a neck injury? Paralyzed. Yeah. So you might have a neck or back injury that can cause some paralysis. So you've got to treat it that way until this person wakes up. All right. So an unconscious is defined as a state of insensibility in which the athlete exhibits a lack of conscious awareness. Can be brought on by a blow to the head or the solar plexus, or it may result from general shock. Where's your solar plexus? Solar plexus. Yes, it's your chest and what's that muscle in between here and here? Helps you breathe. Diaphragm. Yes. So, even though we don't have a textbook, here we are dealing. Note the body position. Okay? ABCs. Remember that? We know what that is now, right? A is what? Airway. And then, and, super. So your ABC should be established. Injury to the neck is considered to the unconscious athlete, and your helmet should not be removed. All right, supine means you're laying on your spine. Supine, you're laying on your spine. So I'm laying face up. That's pretty easy. And so if they're supine and they're not breathing, establish your ABCs immediately. So the supine athlete that is unconscious, you don't do anything until they are conscious. Got me? Prone. What's prone? On your belly. Yeah. So if they're prone and unconscious, all right, the athlete may need to be log rolled carefully to establish your ABCs. Now, remember I told you about that one kid that just fell. Boom. So he's on his belly. I get to him, and he's actually having a seizure. All right? So, ABCs, airway, breathing, circulation. So, I hear him breathing, right? And I grab his arm and check his pulse. All right? Do I need to go ahead and log roll him? No. I don't need to log roll him because he's unconscious. But he's fine. He's going to be okay. He's breathing and he's got circulation. So, I don't need to log roll him, just to log roll him. He can regain his consciousness just fine while he is prone. Okay? So, prone and conscious and breathing, nothing done until conscious. And then you can carefully log roll them. So life support for the unconscious should be monitored until your EMT arrives. And once the athlete is stabilized, then you can do your secondary survey. All right? So we learned this all in first aid CPR. Remember? Okay. Remember they had a scenario? There were two people that got hurt at the workplace. One of them had a cut and it was gushing out blood, and the other one said, "But I sprained my ankle." Okay? Who are you going to take care of first? Yeah, if he loses too much blood, he's not going to be around for tomorrow's company picnic, right? But the other guy's got a sprained ankle. He'll be okay. Yeah, it hurts now. We understand you. Did you actually say sprained, the ankle sprain? All right. So shoulder pads will make CPR difficult, as will a helmet, but don't remove them. Work harder. All right? The helmet must not be removed, so the shoulder pads shouldn't be removed. And if the athlete needs CPR, now it says cut away the face mask, but on the new face mask, you can just take a regular pin, put it in the middle, push it real fast, and those two deals will fall off, and you just lift it up like a garage door. Yes, we will try this. And when we try this, we've got to figure out some way of actually videoing. So we'll do it next week. We'll have it on, not, huh? Put a GoPro to your head. Cool. So if the athlete needs CPR, you can push those, but leave the chin strap alone. Okay? Now he's one of those that's got chin strap that's so tight that you got loosen it up. Loosen up the back ones. All right? But don't go crazy and undo the whole thing and have everything jarring. Now what about there are still helmets that have screws in there. So you need to have a screwdriver. And on top of that, you need to constantly check whether or not those screws are rusted into place. Because if a helmet gets to the point to where it's rusted, you're going to have a tough time getting that off. All right? Not all of them. So, how do I get that off if it's rusted now? Well, they got a thing called it's a trainer's angel. It grabs the plastic part and it cuts it. So, you can do that too. All right? So there they are using a trainer's angel. I don't know why they're cutting off the top one, but they're doing that one first for some reason. All right. CPR is a specialized skill that must be taught by a skilled professional. All right. And this class is not to teach your skill, but it's recommended that all persons become CPR and first aid certified. So, also, you have hemorrhage that you have to worry about. What's a hemorrhage? Abnormal bleeding. It doesn't have to be in your brain. It can be hemorrhaging from your arm. You can be hemorrhaging in your belly. Okay? Hemorrhage is any abnormal discharge of blood. So, direct pressure, elevation, and pressure points. Got it? This looks like a really cool listening question. I don't know if it's on there that way or not, but it really does. Shock. All right. Once we get done with shock, that'll be today's dealie. Shock is a possibility with any injury. Got it? More likely to see shock with the increase of severity of the injury. And most important, clue to shock is recognition of severe injury. And we talked about shock. What's shock again? No, it's not putting your finger in the electrical outlet. What's shock? Huh? Oh, I think somebody must be ahead of me there. When shock occurs, the quantity of plasma moves from the blood vessels into the tissue space, leaving the blood cells within the vessels, causing stagnation and slowing the blood flow. So what happens to the blood? It gets what? Why does it slow down? Because it does get thicker. So it's harder to push through. All right? And then not only that, but the volume of the blood is less. Okay? So let's say that you have that bottle of water in there, right? Right now it's only water. But we're going to make it better. We're going to add Kool-Aid and sugar. And then that's how you make Kool-Aid, right? All right. So you can put a rubber band around where the water level is. If you add Kool-Aid and you add sugar, what happens to the water level? The water level's going up, right? But what if I was to take something and put it in that and pull out only the sugar? All right? What happens to the water level? It goes down. What if I pull out the Kool-Aid? Now it's back down to the rubber band. All right? Well, blood's got a whole lot of stuff in it. All right? Not only does it have the red blood cells, but the plasma part is carrying your dextrose. All right? So if all of that gets pulled away, now, have y'all ever had blood taken? You ever see them spin it in that blood spinner? Next time you go get blood taken, say, I want to see what it looks like when it's spun. And what you'll see is you'll see at the very bottom of it, the red part, isn't it? And then the white part up top, and it's about 50-50. So if you lost half of your blood volume because the plasma just wanted to leave and go hang out in the tissue, your blood's going to be a really thick river, isn't it? There's not enough oxygen-carrying blood cells available to the tissues, and particularly those of the nervous system, which can cause a general collapse of the vascular system and widespread tissue death. So, hypovolemic, that's a kind of shock. Hypo means what? Okay, how about this? I can go outside, and I can have two types of conditions compared to for the weather. Hyperthermic, right? Hyperthermal. Hyper is what? Above, right? Hypo would be lower. So hypovolemic, volemic is blood, so we have low blood, right? Psychogenic, fainting, temporary dilation of the blood vessels. And then there's the all famous anaphylactic. So do you remember 2 weeks ago when we had that person in the lunchroom? They were allergic to peanuts. They were so allergic to peanuts, they didn't even eat the peanuts, but somebody across the table from them was eating peanuts, and they breathed it in. And so she started going into anaphylactic shock. She had such a severe reaction to peanuts that even just breathing it in will cause her throat to start to swell. And if you don't get that taken care of, you're not going to worry about homework tomorrow. Okay? So, allergic reaction to food, insect stings, etc. What are some of the insect stings? Bees. Yeah, bees, wasps, etc. Ants. There's another little critter. It's got little dillies. Close. They got another deal that goes. Got a tail on them.
Oh, scorpion.
Scorpions. Yeah.
That's an insect?
What do you think it was? A mammal?
No, like a little, like a frog or whatever those are.
Crab?
A
Well, no, not with a
crustacean.
shellfish.
Crustacean.
People are allergic to shellfish.
I know, my dad.
What about food?
He's allergic to shrimp.
What about shellfish? You're allergic to peanuts, etc. So what happens if he eats shellfish? And so what happens if it closes up? Is he not using EpiPen?
No.
No.
He's like 50. He doesn't know what that is.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.
So, all right, we will play with muscular skeletal assessment tomorrow. Because we're at 21 of 36. So tomorrow, that's where we stopped in the first place, wasn't it?
No. I think we stopped on like the first page last time.
No, we went through all this.
I don't
No?
think so. No.
Okay.
I don't think we opened this